Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for today, Monday, May 20th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We will not be doing a recap since it's been since Friday that we did have a video. Although Friday's slate was pretty good for us overall. Pitcher was really good. 3 of the 4 hitters went off in a pretty big way. So hopefully you guys tailed and had some pretty good success on that slate as well. But in terms of what we'll be talking about today, we'll be going over to RotoWire, talking about the weather report. So we'll talk about any game that does have double-digit chance of rain or higher. After that, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks for tonight's slate. There's going to be 1 pitcher and 4 hitters. That's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponents, as well as some recent history. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate overall. The cheat sheet is 100% free and it is up on the Sports Affiliation website, so definitely be sure to check that out as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. But without further ado, we'll get started with that weather report. We just have the 2 games today that are going to have double-digit chance of rain. So we're going to start off in Kansas City with the Royals and the Tigers. 36% chance of rain down there. So we'll see ultimately whether or not that game goes off, whether or not it gets delayed or anything else like that. When I was looking at it earlier this morning, was, like a 15% chance of rain. Now it's all the way up to 36%. So hopefully we start headed in the right direction, but not looking like that way so far. And then in terms of the other game that we're looking at, it's going to be over in St. Louis with the Cardinals and the Baltimore Orioles. That one's got a 16% chance of rain, but we could always see some of that rain coming over from Kansas City at some point as well. So have to keep an eye on these 2 ones as the day moves along. If there's anything that majorly changes throughout the day in terms of these 2 games, we'll leave it down in the comments below. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks for tonight's slate overall. So once again, it is based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponents, as well as recent history. We're going to start off with Framber Valdez at that pitcher position, averaging just under 33 fantasy points per game. And he's coming off a really good start. He's only $9,500 still, so seeing him under $9,800, under $10,000 is definitely a good sign for us once again. Mostly good history versus the Angels in the past before. It's like Taylor Ward that's got decent history versus him, and then Zach Nieto randomly has like 2 home runs, even though he's only 2 for 8 versus him in his career. But in the 3 starts that he had against the Angels last year, 43, 52, and 67 points. So some really good point totals out of him last year. So if we can get anything close to that out of him on tonight's slate, going to be a good day for him overall. And if we look at what he's done so far on the season, it's the 3 wins, 2.95 ERA. That one's slowly coming down. Had a little bit slower to the start than obviously was injured. Made 4 starts since he's been back from the IL. So definitely like his upside once again tonight against this Angels team. And then we're going to keep on our Houston train with John Singleton, the first baseman for them at this point in time, $2,600. And in his career versus Reed Detmers, the expected starting pitcher tonight for the Los Angeles Angels, he is 2 for 2 with 2 home runs. He's on a modest 3-game hitting streak with 2 multi-hit games during that time span. And Singleton's actually been a little bit of a surprise for this Astros team as of late. Obviously, Jose Abreu really struggled to start the year. He went down to kind of rewrite his swing down the minors and everything else like that. But Singleton, 233 average, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, tailed off a little bit since the beginning of his, call up and success for the team, but still playing a decent first base, still hitting the ball at times. And like I said, really good history versus Reed Detmers in the past. If he's a guy you completely don't want to play for whatever reason, there are a lot of viable cheap options at this first base / catcher position tonight. And then next up, we have his teammate, Jose Altuve. He's $3,700. He is 4 for 11 with 1 home run in his career versus Reed Detmers. He's on a modest 7-game hitting streak. The only bad part about that 7-game hitting streak is he does not have any multi-hit games during that time span. So hopefully he kind of bucks that trend tonight. But if you look at what he's done so far in the season, 307 average, 8 home runs, 15 RBIs, averages just under 11.5 fantasy points per game. So once again, do like that upside tonight. Houston Stacks going to be a pretty popular one, but I think a pretty good one overall for tonight's slate as well. And then we're going to keep moving down to third base with Nolan Arenado. He is $2,900, averaging just over 8.5 fantasy points per game. He's going against the Baltimore Orioles. It's Dean Kramer on the mound tonight, and he is 2 for 2 versus Dean Kramer in his career. And Nolan Arenado's got at least 1 hit in 5 out of his last 6 games. 2 of those games have been multi-hit games. He's had a really good season for the most part in terms of consistently getting on base, consistently of hitting the ball. But he hasn't had like a lot of multi-hit games, hasn't hit for a lot of power so far this season. So that's kind of been the one detriment. That's kind of why his price tag is $2,900 at this point in time. .276 average, 3 home runs, 22 RBI. So still a pretty productive player, just not heading for a ton of power and not a lot of multi-hit games over the course of the season. But I'll take my chances on the upside with him tonight overall. And then last but not least, we're going to go to the outfield with a pleasant surprise this season in Giancarlo Stanton, $3,500 now at this point in time. He is 1 for 3 versus Logan Gilbert, the expected starting pitcher for the Seattle Mariners. Tonight, he has hits in 6 out of his last 7 games. 5 of them have been multi-hit games. He does have 3 home runs during that time span as well. So Giancarlo Stanton's been hitting the ball really well as of late, and he has a .252 batting average, which is actually pretty good for him. 11 home runs, 26 RBIs. He has 5 home runs during May, so kind of on a hot streak as of late. We're going to take advantage of that tonight, hopefully once again in a big way. Logan Gilbert, decent pitcher, pitched pretty well so far this season, but he has been pretty hit or miss versus the Yankees in the past. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that do currently have listed, you have $12,800 remaining, $3,200 per player. So a decent chunk of change left over. Kind of whether you want to build out a more balanced approach, that's definitely valuable on tonight's slate. But I think there are a lot of cheaper options tonight that could allow us to, pay down at some spots, pay up at a couple other spots, get creative with some of the stacks that we do have for tonight's slate overall. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack over there. So once again, the cheat sheet is up on the Sports Affiliation website. It is 100% free, so definitely be sure to check that out as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. But the 3 teams that I do have in terms of stacking for tonight, we got the Dodgers going against Slade Cecconi of the Arizona Diamondbacks. They have no history versus him in the past before, so probably going to get a little bit creative with some of these Dodgers hitters. There might be a couple guys that are a little bit cheaper on tonight's slate overall as well, with kind of some of the guys that are filling in and playing, different spots where there's third base or outfield. And then at least on RotoWire at this point in time, Cecconi is just listed as kind of the primary pitcher, so they might use an opener before him. And then after that, we have the Houston Astros going against Reed Detmers. A lot of these guys have hit him really well in the past. Whether it's John Singleton, Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, Kyle Tucker's another one. Pretty much like everybody on their roster except like Alex Bregman, oddly enough. But do like that quite a bit. Chas McCormick's another guy, 2 for 3. He's expected to come off the IL today. We'll see whether or not that remains the case and if he's in the starting lineup. And then last but not least, we have the Tigers. They don't have a long list history versus Michael Wacha, but that history from earlier this season actually is pretty good versus him. So if you want to go with the Tigers, it's kind of a sneaky stack tonight. Could make a little bit of sense there overall, although Michael Wacha has pitched better in his 2 most recent starts. But with that being said, that's what I do have in terms of the weather report, the core picks, and my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate overall. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then with that being said, I'll be listing any other updates down there as well. I know we had one minor update since last night when I was doing my notes and posted up all over to Patreon that Yoshinobu Yamamoto will be starting for the Dodgers tonight. Last night it looked like it was going to be Gavin Stone, so they kind of switched that around. Yamamoto has made one start versus the Arizona Diamondbacks earlier this season. It was a pretty good start for him overall. The only guy with notable history versus Yamamoto in the past is going to be Jock Peterson, who was 3 for 3 versus him in that game. But with that being said, if there's any other major updates whatsoever that come out in terms of weather, in terms of starting pitcher changes, anything else like that, I will also have the starting lineups listed down in the comments below as they do come out throughout the afternoon and early evening, so I'll definitely be on the lookout for that. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. I definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos Monday through Friday. And then I do post up my UFL DFS video once a week, and that's typically been coming out on Fridays. So if that's something you're into, definitely be sure to check that out as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for Parlay Play, Prize Picks, and BetUS. If you're a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, you will get a first match deposit bonus. And for Prize Picks and Parlay Play, that is a 100% match up to $100. For BetUS, it's a 125% match up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. And then with that being said, if you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.